Todd Shapiro Show.
More shoes today for you.
Oh, and they're nice.
Yeah, they're nice shoes.
Are you wearing socks?
No.
Are you wearing those little sockettes?
No, I'm not. I have no sockettes. Should I be wearing sockettes?
You know what? If you look at the most stylish people, they wear sockettes. I don't wear sockettes. I can't find them. But a lot of very stylish gay men always have sockettes. I'm like, where do you get those? It's a secret. It's a specially held secret, not for me. So my shoes just end up being thrown in the garbage every 4 months.
Did they get smelly? Is that why?
Eventually. Like really great shoes take longer, but like the worst shoe is it's like a canvas, it's like a Docker or a Sketcher, it's like a rounded toe kind of deal, like a Van type thing.
Yeah.
They always end up stinking in a month with me.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, terrible shoe.
But a good shoe won't smell so much right away.
A really, really good shoe can last you, well, you can't wear it every day, but if you wear it, say, once a week or once every 5 days in the summer, it can last you 2 years.
Yeah?
Absolutely. It'll wear out before it stinks.
Do you ever, have you ever got a shoe fixed, or you just at a point you just throw them out and get a new pair?
So I have a bit of a shoe problem.
Do you have a shoe addiction?
A little bit.
No, that's
a little bit.
Fucking crazy, Brad. That's cool.
Yeah. So I have about 150 pairs of shoes. Wow. I have shoes I've never opened up out of the box.
What size are your feet? I can borrow some.
I'm like 11, half 12.
Hey, hello.
Is that what you are?
Yeah, we park our cars in the same garage. Although your car's a lot nicer than mine. But
yeah, I used to go. There was a great Browns in Hazelton Lanes. You know, the Hazelton Lanes is now called something else. And it was underground. It was the best Browns in the world.
Just like killer shoes.
Because it was in Yorkville, it was special. They had for women they had all the best brands, which they don't carry anymore, and for men they had phenomenal brands. And Fabi's a good brand. I love that. Pachati is another one that I love. And I would go and buy, 8 pairs of shoes. I'd take my wife, but I couldn't be like, I'm just going to buy all the shoes for me. So I'd always buy a bunch for her. So we get like 10 pairs each.
Wow.
8 pairs each.
I want to be your next wife.
You're not pretty enough.
No, I don't. I did not think so.
And the wrong sex. That's right.
So I mean, I don't mean to get too personal, but I have to ask. What would Brad J. Lamb say at the most expensive pair of shoes he's ever bought? And you can tell me that off if you know.
So one trip, when I went to London once with Katrina, who's my ex, we went to Louis Vuitton somewhere in central London. And this was the year that Louis Vuitton had the best fucking shoes for men ever. They still have good shoes, but not. This was like 1 year where they hit it perfectly. And I bought 7 pairs of shoes at Louis Vuitton, and one pair was $2,000. That's the most I paid for a pair of shoes, $2,000. But these shoes. I got to tell you, these shoes had a stainless steel capped heel.
Oh,
I still have them. I wear them a lot. They were patent leather.
Just in case anyone's shooting at your Achilles or something,
Well, they just sparkled.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. The patent. Describe the. So
they were patent leather.
Yeah.
They were very pointy, very stylish. They had a stainless steel wrap around the heel. It wasn't a high heel. I like kind of lower heels because I'm tall.
Okay. And
then they had this kind of like little gray specks, like little kind of stars or sparkles. It sounds tacky, but it was very subtle. And every time I wear those shoes, people are like, my God, those are fucking beautiful. They're great shoes.
A lot of people point out shoes. You've told us that before. Like a lot of people notice a nice pair of shoes on a man, don't they?
Women will know. Men don't have great taste in shoes generally. Okay. A lot of guys have that kind of slip-on shoe with a caveman kind of square-off toe. That's kind of the standard go-to guy shoe. With jeans and an untucked white shirt. That's kind of the uniform for guys.
Yeah.
But if you wear a nice pair of shoes, women stop me all the time and say, they don't say anything about me, but they say, I love your shoes. They're great.
You're too tall. I can't see you.
I guess.
They're just looking at. They're looking at maybe the right area.
But it's funny. Women do notice. Gay men obviously are very stylish generally. It's a generalization, but I find more gay men to be stylish than straight men, and women obviously care a lot about style and clothing. And they notice those small things. They really do. Women notice a lot more than men think they notice, and they like their men to dress well.
Is it ever too late do you think for a dude to like, I'm 43. You think one day if I just started wearing super nice blazers all day long and styled my hair instead of wearing ball caps, like, is it okay? Like, can that just happen one day to sort of change your persona, or is that point you trying too hard?
No, 100%. Like, I've seen you out. You clean up very well, and even when you're wearing stuff like you are now, you're stylish in your way, right? Like you are.
Russell Peters gave me the shirt. That's why.
It is a sign on the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you started doing that, I think it's never too late to try to change. I actually tried it. I actively try to change myself about every 10 years, like a massive sea change in who I am and what I'm doing, just to challenge myself.
Huh. Would you ever, maybe you should go with like a huge like blonde wig or something next time when the next decade.
Maybe I'll get soon or now you can clone hair. So maybe I'll get cloned hair and a massive rock star long hair. It would freak people out.
Whoa, do they have that now? Really?
I believe it or not, I met a Korean company that owns worldwide rights to a lot of cloning technology, and they contacted me because they want to build private hospitals for. They have 1,000 people that are a part of their private hospital group. They're all a lot of Middle Eastern people, very wealthy people, and they build them in private areas across the world. So I had a parcel of land they wanted to do it on, so I met with them, and they can clone anything, man.
That exists already.
They can clone a liver, they can clone your hair, and you just have to put it back in, and it's there forever.
Wow, I've heard of 2-tier medicine, but not like not rock star tier. Like that's when you know.
This is the kind of stuff that upsets people if they know about it. But there are people that can have anything they want replaced. Anything. Well, not their brain, but
how much would like a clone liver cost?
You know what? We didn't get into the costs of that stuff, but they only have 1,000 members. They showed me one of their hospitals, and it has everything. Like basically, you live in this. It's like a massive sprawling hotel, gated, and there's a hospital complex there. They give you a pager, and your doctor's in direct contact with you whenever you need to do something, and you just wander into the hospital area, and they'll take care of you. But yeah, there's a huge incidence of diabetes among certain parts of the wealthy population in the world. Mostly, there's a big problem with that in the Middle East with very wealthy people, and so there's certain organs that need to be replaced when you're diabetic, and the diabetes has progressed to a certain point. And listen, they're telling me stuff. I'm like, come on, really? They showed me a full presentation of what they do. Yeah.
Oh my!
At that point, it becomes like a fine cigar too. Like, I got this liver. Like it's a pride thing. I think like you talk about it. If you could go and get it, why not? If you have that kind of money.
I just imagine if I was rich, people would be like, "Is that your wife, Brenda? She looks that's Brenda. She's 21 now."
Well, you could have various ages of Brenda. You could have a daughter age Brenda.
Yeah.
That's gross. Can't do that, but.
All the way up, man. All the way up.
Starting from maybe 20, 20 to 50. Yeah. You have a henpecking Brenda.
Yep.
Well, TorontoCondos.com is where Brad J. Lamb is at, doing so much great stuff across Canada, from Edmonton to Ottawa to Calgary. Obviously, what he's done in Toronto is mind-blowing, and go and check out many of his projects, including Theatre Park, which we hopefully will have a cool announcement for coming up in next week. And again, TorontoCondos.com for any information or investments or buying condominiums or homes. Brad always comes in and talks about what's going on in the world of real estate, and it's like a weekly feature that is important for everyone to continue to understand. Canadian banks have recently asked to undergo additional stress tests when it comes to their policies on mortgage lending. The Bank of Canada apparently has warned of increased riskiness as a run-up in household debt potential and consequences for these lenders. Is this true? Is this something we got to worry about? What's going on here?
Well, listen, debt is a problem if you can't manage it. But I think this is a mountain out of a molehill. I really think that economists who sort of ring the warning bells are not looking at the underlying information. So to break it down, 165 or so percent is the number of debt versus your gross income. Okay, so meaning that if you make $100,000 a year, the average person has $165,000 of debt. Now, if you make $100,000 a year, you're going to probably buy a $350,000 apartment, which you could easily afford with no difficulty, none at all. I could go through the numbers, but trust me, no problem. So if you're going to buy a $350,000 condominium, you probably have, if you're saving and put a good down payment, maybe $250,000 of debt. So automatically, when you buy a home in Canada with that kind of equity, $100,000 down, which is about a third of the purchase price, which very few Canadians do, they would have a 250% ratio, which blows the doors off the 165. Now, if that guy has no other debt, he doesn't have a car, no student debt, no credit card debt, and
no ex-wife.
No ex-wife. That's all he has. Is that guy in trouble? No, that guy's doing smart stuff. So the problem is that you can't look at the number. You have to look at inside the number. So another idea or another comparison is you take a guy who, say, take that same guy, he's making $100,000 a year, he's $250,000 mortgage, there's no other debt. Okay, then you take a guy that makes $100,000 a year, and let's say that property costs $1,500 a month to own. Then you take another guy that's renting, paying $1,500 a month, and he doesn't have a mortgage, but he has a car, he has credit card debt, he has student loans from his education, and maybe he's got a line of credit. And that guy has $100,000 of debt. So he's got less debt. He's under that 165%. He's at 100%. The other case is at 250%. Who's better off? Well, credit card debt's at 24%. Student debt is, well, people never pay that off.
I just did 2 weeks ago. It was all for lap dances too. Because my parents paid for the education, and I just applied for it. And
that's good to know.
Yeah,
good to know that tax money.
Okay.
And then automobile debt is also stupid debt, right?
Yeah.
So that guy still has to pay $1,500 a month rent. So Case A is paying $1,500 on his home, and every month he pays off $400 of his mortgage, and that's all the debt he has. And the other guy's got a car, credit card, student debt, and line of credit, and he's still paying $1,500 a month. If that guy doesn't pay his $1,500 a month, the landlord's going to boot him out of the property. If you don't pay $1,500 a month, the bank is going to boot you out of the property. So why is the guy at $250 at more risk than the guy at $100? He's not. He's better off. So what this number has to happen with this number is we have to have the economists analyzing this look into the number and actually tell us where the debt is. And I've done this myself. And I'm actually commissioning in my office a full study on this because I'm very irritated about this constant pecking about this problem. And I'm going to say that 70% of the debt in Canada is mortgage debt. And mortgage debt's not a problem because you have to live somewhere. Mortgage debt's not a problem. If the mortgage debt you have is close to the cost of renting, it's not a problem. And something else, and I'm going to confirm this next time on the show, but I also believe that the average Canadian owns 50% of their house outright.
That's pretty good.
And we're also commissioning a study in the G8 countries. So my office is doing a study in the G8 countries to see what percentage of people in those countries owns their home versus rented versus Canada. So if Canadians own 80% of Canadians own their own home, and 50% of Americans do, we should have a higher debt ratio because we have mortgages. The mortgage is the big number that throws it out of whack, right? And this is what these jerk-offs should be doing. Instead of scaring people that we have a problem, they should be looking into these numbers because they're saying we have the highest ratio in the G8 or something like that. And I'm going to prove we have the lowest ratio. So next time I'm on, I'll have that study done, and we'll see if I'm right or they're right.
It's super fascinating, actually, and it's. I mean, it's just. I think a testament to whether your brain works as opposed to other people's brains. Thinking that, hey, this is good debt. This is good debt. You're getting. From what I know, and I've done well in real estate. The condo millionaire you can do. I've made money every time I've owned a property, and there's been 4 of them, and it's been great for me. It's allowed me to go up with each property I have, and as long as I think I can afford that mortgage that I have on it, which is probably a little bit high, I'll make sure that I'll pay it off. And if I get to a point where I think I might not be able to, then I'll sell it. Despite what anyone thinks the housing market may go up and down, I'll be ahead of that game. I'll be ahead of that curve. And sorry, Jay.
Sorry.
No, don't be.
Sorry. It's just so simple to understand what you're explaining that it boggles my mind that they're not getting it. Like, okay, who's better off? The guy with $100,000 mortgage or the guy like that owes $10,000 to Boxcar Jimmy, the local tavern bookie? So that guy's gonna die. You owe $10,000 to Boxcar Jimmy, you're gonna die.
Do you know a guy named Boxcar?
I do. Yeah. I don't know him anything because I'd be dead. We wouldn't have this conversation. It's just, but like it's the same thing though, and it's nuts that they publish these reports and they're economists, and I don't know how you even get that job anymore because they seem so stupid to me half the time.
Well, if the world, this is the thing, the government in the world, or government media is all about scaring you. It's not about making you happy. It's about scaring you and keeping you off balance, so you don't actually observe what they're really up to. That's the truth, man.
Wow.
Trying to keep us down.
100%.
Fuck, that's sad. Well, we do it differently here. We call everybody out. That's right. We call them out. We got Boxcar Jimmy behind us too. He's on retainer.
Switchblade.
He's on retainer. I actually saw this in the news earlier, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize. But they today, the city of Toronto, and this is going to sort of speak to all of Canada eventually, has approved Uber with a public transportation company license, basically saying that Uber is the same regulatory framework as taxis. And there was only like 70 people there protesting too. It wasn't a big stink. A couple guys going, "That's shameful. That's a shameful." Three of them. It's a very interesting story, and I wanted to get Brad J. Lamb's thoughts on it.
So, people won't ever complain if a new technology lowers their price of living. And so, you can take an Uber to the airport for 40% less than a taxi or a limo. So why would you complain? Here's why it's unfair. So for the last, I don't know, however number of years, let's say 60 years, I'm just going to throw it out there, it's probably around that time, we've had an organized cab industry in Toronto, right? And people have had to get a license, take a test, understand where everything is. I'm going to say that it's not like our taxi drivers are the most informed about streets, but they're better than they would be if they didn't take the test and study the streets, right? They're not the London taxi driver, but they're better than a guy just jumping in a car and saying, where do you want to go? They've also paid to buy a license. They've actually bought the license and stayed licensed and paid all those fees for all those years. And licenses traded hands. So if you wanted to own a taxi license, you had to buy it. And at one point, taxi licenses in Toronto were up around $300,000.
Wow.
And guys started buying them as investments, which is perfectly fine. It was you buy a taxi license, you rent it to someone who needs it to drive a car, and you make a return.
It's a little business, yeah. Supply and demand. There was only so many, so it's just, I would have thought of that, at the time. Yeah.
So what's inherently unfair is it? And by the way, I ride a taxi all over the city all the time. I don't drive a lot. And a lot of taxi drivers know me because I've plastered my face around the city. So they're always asking me stuff about real estate, and I ask them stuff about what they're doing. And a lot of taxi drivers have done very well, working their ass off, multi-shifts. A lot of new immigrants. It's amazing, in 30 or 40 years of eating it, what they've been able to do. A lot of them own their plate. A lot of them do, which means they have an investment that's worth $300,000. That investment now effectively really is worth zero. Who's going to buy it? Just get your Toyota Civic, sign on with Uber, and you're all set to go.
So, Brad, will you not use Uber?
I'll tell you what. I don't have Uber as an app. I don't use Uber. Like, my ex-wife loved Uber, and so when she ordered one, I get in the car.
Sure.
But I don't support Uber as an institution or an organization. I think it's terrible for all the cab drivers throughout the world. We're talking millions of people that drive cabs in all these cities. They just got fucked.
Now, I come from the guy who saves that $6 on a fare that would be 17 and now is 11. Okay? I've had some great Uber drivers. I've had some crappy Uber drivers. I've had some great taxi drivers. I've had some I have some terrible taxi drivers as well. So, give or take. Like, the driver's not the service that I care about. It's the actual price that I save. That is the only thing I cared about. The only thing I was surprised by with the city, and you see this now being approved in more and more cities, is that I'm going to be careful I say this. It felt like there was like a back end deal or something. Like, for me, I didn't care because I was saving money. But I did see it as a business person who had this sort of regimen and all these rules that now all of a sudden is just gone. it felt like it could they be on the take on this type of stuff? Like, is that a crazy thought of mine?
Well, I don't think they're on the take. I think that there's going to be more fees generated for the city because now Uber's going to have to pay. Before they paid nothing, now they're going to have to pay something. So there's going to have to pay for registering the Uber, but they're not going to have to pay the price of buying a plate, which fairly should be $300,000. It was over $1 million in New York. You know, there's actually credit unions in New York City and Chicago that are bankrupt now because they loan money on $1 million purchases for plates. So a guy would put $400,000 down, borrow $600,000, and they're credit unions that were set up for the purpose of loaning money on taxi plates. It was a great business for 60 years. Those credit unions are bankrupt. They're done, finished.
So I mean, do you look at this as from a purely kind of business level, from a fair practice level? Is ultimately is that sort of why you see it? Like how can you? I get that disruptive businesses are good. You know, they break down the brick and mortar, and you got to keep up and advance and all this kind of stuff. But when there's actually rules in place, and then all of a sudden you just switch the rules for technology, is that kind of the concern here?
Listen, when whale oil was used to light the cities, you know, in the 1860s, 70s, and 80s, and then petroleum was found, and all those whale companies went bankrupt. That's just progress and good for the whales. We're not killing whales for that stupid purpose anymore. But this is a business that's legislated by government. And I think government owes a duty of care because they legislate it. I think if it's a free business like electric car versus gas car, you know, or, you know, any new massive change in technology that makes lives better and makes costs cheaper for consumers is good. But when the government is behind the administration and the licensing, they owe a duty of care to people that have spent their lives investing in it. And frankly, if I were those cab drivers, I would do a class action lawsuit against the City of Toronto. That's what I would do.
It's very hypocritical, isn't it?
I understand why they're doing it. Consumers demand it. Consumers want cheaper. It's a great service. It's very smart. It's fantastic. And the guy's so disruptive. I mean, the founder of it. But no one's thinking about the taxi driver. And by the way, these are not rich people. Taxi drivers, yes.
It's their livelihood, because livelihoods are being affected now. And then what they're going to end up having to do, and it's weird because now I'm being hypocritical because I like the service because I save the money, but you're making me think of it on a more compassionate level. Something I don't think I've ever thought before is that these people now are going to probably have to give up their taxi license and become an Uber driver and earn half the money and then have this license now that's worth nothing.
Well, what's going to happen is that, so first of all, there's people are going to say this is bullshit, that the plates are in the hands of super rich guys. Like I think Mel Lastman I've read that he has many, many plates, but he might have sold them. And people say, well, who cares about that guy? Well, that guy actually took hard-earned capital and bought plates because the government was protecting industry. And I think that that's something government has to think about. But a lot of the people that have a plate they have one plate and they're driving a cab. And those are the hardworking guys that save their money to buy a plate. They're getting screwed. And they can't go. They owe money on that plate still. A lot of them do. They can't go to Uber. So, you know, actually the whole taxi industry around the world is being exploded and it's being rebuilt. There's a guy in Montreal that just bought Diamond Taxi. He's one of the Dragon's Den, or how do you say dragon in French? I don't know.
I don't know. Jay, how do you say it?
He's dragon.
I thought so.
It's dragon. Le dragon. Anyway, he was a guy on the Dragon's Den, and he just bought the 40 or 50% of the Montreal cab business. And he's planning on replacing all the cars with electric cars, putting taxi drivers on salary, just disrupting it again, and offering a premium level of service. So, you know, you got Uber, you got that kind of idea. You still have the old taxi model. Everything's up in the air. We'll see what happens. But I do think that if I had a plate, I would get together other taxi drivers and demand some form of compensation because government's behind it.
You know what? I would have never thought about that. I'm not just saying this because you know you're on the show. Yeah, I'll sponsor the show. I see it from that human level now, and it makes sense to me. And I think it's a very fair statement that you bring up. I'll still probably take Uber though. That's because that's where they get you because the regular citizens aren't. It's going to be hard to back that kind of support because we're saving hundreds of dollars a year.
Well, Uber's here to stay.
Yeah.
So
Can at least the cabs can they do up their cars like NASCARs? They can really advertise them at least. Can they?
Well, they do that in Las Vegas to an obscene level, right?
Okay.
I mean, everything's wrapped. It's mostly strip clubs. But,
Sure.
but yeah, they could do that. Sure. I mean, there's the city. The city won't allow. I would imagine in the legislative industry that it is, that they can't do that on their own without city permission. I would say they have to get a partnership with the city to do it, and the city would have to make a piece of that probably.
Brad's hanging out with us. You see any good movies lately?
You know what? I went to Sausage Party the other night, and it is so funny. It's so completely filthy, and I mean, they attack every group. I love the dialogue between the Arab guy and the Jewish bagel. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, there's like what's the Arab bread? It's like lava?
Jay, I don't know.
It's a droopy kind of lavish.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
well, so I have to interrupt, Brad. Sorry, Lewis. Don't ever try and correct Brad J. Lamb. It's okay. Lewis the intern. Like, don't. It's all right. Don't even. Try.
Anyway, it's just they share an aisle. You know, like so. It's like the whole conflict in the Middle East between like Arabs and Jews, and it's just so Woody Allen kind of voices the bagel, and I don't know who the Arab guy is, but it's just awful how he goes after every group, but it works, and it's there's some actually thought-provoking things in it too. It's a bit existential, and you're in how they're portraying our place in the world and who are we and why are we alive, and they do it with these hot dogs and buns and stuff, and the hot dogs want to fuck the buns. And there's all crazy sexual entendres with that. It's very, very funny. Funniest movie I've seen in a long time.
Oh, good to know. I'm going to go check it out. And yeah, Seth Rogen continues to impress.
It's so filthy. You gotta see it.
Brad gives that 2 cloned thumbs up.
Thumbs and toes, man.
Are you chilling watching the Olympics?
Yeah. I watched. I mean, Usain Bolt's amazing, right? Do you know that I didn't realize this, but when he was 19, he was in the. So what Olympics would have been 2000? When did he win the? Was it 2004? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was in the 2000 Olympics as a 19-year-old, and he didn't get into the finals.
No, I had no idea.
I just heard that last night. Yeah.
Wow, and that you start to think what Andre DeGrasse just did at 21.
He was a 17-year-old.
17.
He was 21 in the next Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah, he was because he's 20. He's 31 now, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a remarkable story.
Yeah, he's jogging. He's just
so wildly fast. It's like, why isn't there anyone else 6'5" that can run like that?
It's pretty bizarre. And how's his last name Bolt?
Really. Perfect name.
Like, come on. Did someone give him that name? I always wanted to Google that. Is that actually Jay? Do you know? Is that a wrestling name?
No,
Vince McMahon didn't give it to him? Okay.
Yeah, he's amazing. Like, he's just so fast.
Phelps has won, 28 gold medals now entirely?
No, I think 23 gold and 5 assorted others.
I see. Would you say he's the best Olympian of all time?
I mean, swimming's, No, I used to swim competitively,
okay.
So I know it's a brutal sport, man. Okay. The training is like hours by yourself in the pool. You want to put a gun to your head; it's tough. But the only thing I'd say is that it's grueling and it's difficult. But you swim. I don't know. It is. No one's come anywhere close to that medal count. He's a remarkable individual. Leave it at that. It is, and the Canadian, I can't remember her name, but won 4 medals this Olympics. That's a fantastic.
Oh yeah, the 16-year-old female who's doing amazing.
Yeah, that's a really good story.
So I mean, do you believe in the spirit and the inspiration and the the unification of what the Olympic Games symbolize? Do you like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true, but I think the Olympic Games is a for the athletes. I think it represents that, but I think for the body that runs it, it's just money.
Right.
Money,
they're investigating an executive. I was reading a story about this today for like the European IOC executive, the big one, is getting investigated or was arrested or is about to get arrested for scalping tickets.
Yeah, 71-year-old dude. I saw that too.
Oh my God, man, come on!
Really, they're not paying you enough to be an
executive of the IOC. You have to scalp tickets. What is he on the corner?
Does it bother you? We were chatting about this a little bit yesterday. does it bother you? And it always goes back to kind of the divide between the rich and the poor and stuff, and how many millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and sponsorship dollars and all this kind of stuff going into the Olympic Games, and then right across the road there's so much poverty. Is
Yeah, I mean that. So that is a problem. But I'll say this: a lot of what do these athletes provide society? So they provide society something to aspire to be, right? And the human condition is tough. It's hard to be happy. It's difficult to be successful. It's and it's a cruel world, really. And so anything that can help raise people above that and see what greatness is, and that's why seeing someone like Michael Phelps for Olympics, what he's done is inspiring, and anyone who dedicates their entire life to one thing like that, it's inspiring. And by the way, some guys like Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt make lots of money, but the high jumper just won a gold medal. That guy's not making any money. He might be on the box of Canadian Wheaties this year, but those guys don't make a lot of money.
For especially for the commitment they put into it.
Yeah, massive commitment to be the best in the world. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's great for the athletes. I think it's great for people. I think that it's unfortunate the people that run these organizations are largely corrupt. That's too bad.
So Crooked, did you see the high jumper who or the pole vaulter or whatever hit the that bar on top with his dick? Did you see that?
No.
He was the best. Did you see that, Jay? They slow it down.
I saw. Yeah, it's
he's literally going for like a medal, and then his dick hit the thing. Like you can see. Did you see that, Roddy? The Olympian whose dick he jumps over. Jay's gonna pull this up. It's hard. I have to say dick to describe it because you can't see it because we're on the radio. But it's absolutely hilarious. He just got very excited, and we're showing it to Brad right now. If you haven't. Yeah,
it's just footage. Like, yeah.
Try and find the video. Anyway, they slow it down. It literally is like dick hits the pole, and then he got.
Was he excited?
Yeah. He's like, I've never been this high. I'm gonna get a medal. I'm gonna get a medal. It's so exciting.
So in the end, what happened? Did he win a medal? Or
I don't think he did.
Was it the last vault for him?
Here we go. Here, watch Brad, and then here we go. Oh, his.
Yeah,
look at his
right.
face.
Yeah.
Look at his face. Oh my God, that's the face of a man whose penis just hit a pole vault.
That's what knocked the pole down. His legs didn't do it. It was his penis.
I bet you that's it. I don't even believe. I think he did this on purpose just so he had something to show the ladies. It's a great Tinder profile pic. Like, my penis is so strong it cost me an Olympic gold medal.
Brad J. Lamb, thank you always for coming by and hanging out with us, man, and just you always have a really neat spin on questions. You open up our minds. It's nice.
Thanks,
dude. Yeah, we're gonna hang out one day. What car are we going for a ride in?
Any car you like.
I love this guy. Brad J. Lamb, go to torontocondos.com. Great investments. Look for condominiums, look for homes and developments all across Canada. And tons of stuff. Mortgage companies. He's got it all going on. It's easy to find and easy. torontocondos.com.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Turn up your speakers, especially if you're over 65. Sirius XM 168. Canada Laughs.